What is up, you muffin munching muggles? Welcome to Fiction and Reality. Your favorite zoomer with the humors got another gloomer. Souls-like games, extraction shooters, hero shooters are stagnating the single player and multiplayer sphere of gaming. Though there are exceptions that make the genre their own, holistically, they risk undercutting creativity in the field when failing to evolve. Let's explore the dangers in oversaturating the gaming world, what's encouraging this trend, and how I believe the problem might best be tackled. In popular opinion, can we talk about something? I am tired of almost every new multiplayer game that I see being released being an extraction shooter. Hey, maybe I'll go kick a dog and someone will bring all my troubles to a peaceful end. PSA, I don't kick dogs, though I have been accused. There's been this horrible trend in gaming within the recent years with these companies catching the bad runs of monkey see, monkey do. Now, I understand that people love extraction shooters. Hell, I even played a little bit of Arc Raiders myself with the crew and had a short little burst of fun. But at the end of the day, it's receded into the same formula as every other extraction shooter available, with the addition of some PvE components. The world is gritty. You're traversing this dystopian plane governed by an invasive AI threat, Arc. The graphics are phenomenal, which is saying a lot with the recent implementation of Unreal Engine. Though I don't know, maybe Randy Pitchford will just blame my fucking PC or bloatware for my graphic hitches. Its world is different, but in my opinion doesn't do anything that severely displaces the nature of the basic framework of the extraction shooter. You spawn in the world, engage enemy combatants, loot all that you can, and extract before being killed. We had Tarkov, which is widely credited with the founding, or at least popularity, of extraction shooter bases, where the formula remains justly the same, with the exception of your loot being recycled and reset within a set amount of days or weeks. Now we have Bungie within the last few months, announcing Marathon, which I know a lot of Bungie fans were expecting to be some new groundbreaking, rift-shaking world akin to perhaps the likes of Destiny or something even more unique. They've announced it's going to be another extraction shooter set for release in 2026, I believe. This isn't even to mention the emergence of another extraction shooter this year, Arena Breakout Infinite, which is a Modern Warfare-esque militaristic extraction shooter. And into the next year, another game called Active Matter, which is also scheduled for release. My issue with these games is that they aren't evolving. The external architecture, the shell or environment in which you play in, undergoes a shift, but the base nature of these games across the board is more or less the same. I'm not knocking players favoring the genre. I'm criticizing the companies. A change in surface presentation of the game is not innovation. It's calling a leopard a jaguar. It's slowly but gradually becoming the same onslaught we saw with battle royales emerging after Fortnite's breakout. I swear, when Fortnite came out, I had friends who had never touched a controller in their life asking me if I played Fortnite yet. The lunch lady, when I was checking out my fried chicken and watermelon and grape juice combo, asked me if I played Fortnite. My doctor, checking the rotten boil on my ass cheek, asked me if I played Fortnite. Obviously, only one of those events is true. When this trend gets rewarded, companies are rewarded for recycling a framework, leading to future releases mirroring the same minimalistic spirit of its predecessor, with likely the same amount of effort or even less being put into new releases moving forward. The Souls-like title is being overused and oversaturated in the gaming sphere. That's not to say that a variety of these Souls games aren't owning the genre in their own rite of passage. I've played Souls games before and they are generally a good gameplay experience. But as with every genre, when the gaming sphere isolates its gaming experience to one axis, it raises questions and concerns for player choice. And not because I suck at them, though I do suck at them. The primary issue with mass migration of the single player experience into a niche genre is that it bottlenecks the player variety and choice. We've had Monkey wielding a pogo stick in Wukong, which optimized the Souls-like experience, Evil Doggo with the sword in Elden Ring, Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, and Bulbous Booba in Stellar Blade, which many will categorize as a Souls-light, all generally working within the framework of the Souls genre, some just taking components, most evidently characterized by cruel and unusual punishment after whiffing an attack. Usually the lore of the world must be sought out extensively within these games to piece together the narrative structure versus the story and cutscenes themselves smoothly unfolding the narrative for you. I know with Wukong in particular, foreground knowledge was needed by most to understand the journey of the West and the characters that appeared in the story as it progressed. A lot of players like myself might prefer a game that is structured narratively through the cutscenes, through the objectives, through the characters' dialogues and actions that explicitly indicate progression of the plot as the player traverses from objective to objective. You don't get a lot of that with the Souls-like experience, in my opinion. Most players wouldn't have an issue keeping these two independent of each other, But major problems emerge when the fad sows a rift through the core of a game that primarily promises narrative and grandeur of gameplay experience, then portrays the consumer with unnecessary octaves of difficulty that reside without giving the player the ample means to equalize the attributes of their character in tandem with the enemies they're fighting, simply to steal the name of Soulslike. Games like Star Wars Fallen Order and even Stellar Blade, which take components of the Soulslike genre to claim that title and capitalize on the trend, say they've adopted some qualities of the Souls-like genre while in pursuit of maintaining its narrative structure to amp up the difficulty of the gameplay, primarily through punishing the player with enemy damage. Oh, how I remember getting crip walked on by Alpha Natiba and that other Natiba. This can be extremely troublesome if the player does not have the means to equalize the playing field, aspects that typically make the experience unnecessarily difficult or imbalanced just to claim the title of being Souls-like. Adopting trends and caving to gaming fads betrays the nature of creativity and innovation within itself. But even more than that, it oversaturates the single-player experience, which is why I hope to see some general fatigue of this threading into 2026. We need to ask ourselves, are players calling for narrative changes in the single-player world or difficulty changes? You can have both independent of each other. The problem emerges when Souls-like is drafted simply as a marketing tool to increase player base counts while implementing devices where they aren't warranted. Of course, you get narrative value with the extensive lore of Souls-like genre, but the general overall consensus has been a yearning for improvement in the progression and structure of narrative as a whole, a smooth progression. That's why games like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and Hollow Knight Silksong are reigning in as some of the nominees for Game of the Year, and also why the AAA sector of gaming needs to do some very deep introspection before they start taking major losses. Hero shooters. Well, with the recent breakout release of the newest and coolest hero shooter Highguard, you guys really seem to be in an uproar about something. Why are you in an uproar? Remember, this is a brand new shooter of its kind. You guys don't want to ride on horses and play a groundbreaking game disguised as Concord 2? People are sick of the mediocrity in these developers and gaming companies simply shifting the same surface framework to another and calling it a new game. There's some serious and severe fatigue with the state of multiplayer games as it stands right now, and it honestly is more than disappointing. The gaming community has had its fill of hero shooters with Overwatch, tasted the variety of character options with the likes of Valorant, which crossed over into this Counter-Strike-esque sphere. Marvel Rivals arrived with its third-person POV, but gamers are still pushing around payloads. We rely on the indie sphere to usher in something refreshing, a crisp shovel of air, yet what we're seeing with Highguard is what we've been seeing with gaming companies as a whole. Look for a framework that works, change the environment in which the players take the field in so that it's just unique enough, and then give them what they've already been playing for the last 5 years. I mean, do they think people don't see this? Listen, it's getting old. I'm a zoomer, but I remember the ye olden days of variety. Very niche multiplayer variety specific to a video game in its own world. The multiplayer world of Lost Planet 2, a lost gem by the way. Hell, even the Uncharted series had its own unique multiplayer experience. Gaming world is tired, fatigued of these companies swapping the same framework and not ushering in anything else unique. If you don't know why you don't have the urge to play multiplayer games, you are not alone. All I see when I look toward the field is an array of extraction shooters, an array of hero shooters, and a handful of niche and unique games like Destiny, which have been limping on lightsabers for the past year, and good old reliable Warframe, which DE is taking another step forward in evolution and developing something called Soulframe. And I'll tell you personally, all this absolutely sucks. I don't want to just be locked into having to play extraction shooters, hero shooters, or the same Call of Duty game that gets recycled annually. This is why people are down on their knees praying that games like The Cube by Munfish have a breakout scene, or games like Cinder City actually can present some form of long-term stability when they emerge. The gaming world wants innovation in hero shooters as much as it does any FPS, looter shooter, or Souls-like game. The game's identity is defined by its versatility and awakening what lies latent within the framework it builds upon. The consumer needs to send a message with the introduction of Highguard that remains consistent. Mediocrity and basic framework migration will not be tolerated anymore. Vote with your wallets, people. Oh Destiny, where art thou, Destiny? Who misses the good old days of having to drink from the blacks only well because you didn't have a Gallahorn? Not fun days. Are we oversaturated in live service looter shooters or simply underdeveloped in them? I think many games have tried to do what Destiny's doing, but always failed and came up short. First Ascendant, whose Gunnar Reddit page I will ask you not look up. Anthem, which was peddled by EA, and you know how that tends to work out. Those boys are shutting you guys down offline and online. But seriously, I want more live service looter shooters, I have to be honest. Though it's in a rocky state, I have never had as much fun in a gaming atmosphere as I had playing live service Destiny 1 and 2. The framework of Destiny itself never got boring to me, but the quality of the content tapered over the years, leaving me and thousands of other players trickling off. I think we need more live service games in the same spirit of Destiny that doesn't betray its nature, but also makes the world its own. It forces evolution of content from its player base due to its live service nature, which is likely one of the most critical reasons I even fell in love with Destiny to begin with, this FPS MMORPG genre. Once again, this is why I've been looking toward upcoming games like Witchfire, which explores single-player PvE aspects of Destiny to sort of quench that thirst, and other emerging multiplayer live service games like Cinder City, post-apocalyptic shooter, and also The Cube by Munfish, AAA gaming company that developed Atomic Heart. It's time for a change. Most live service shooters fell due to the repetitive cycle of unrewarding gameplay loot drops and microtransaction lockboxes that stunt progression, moreover a loss in identity which then progressed to the player exodus. The one critical thing that live service games cannot afford to let happen, as it severely clogs the steady flow in cash required to keep the service profitable and thus accessible for the long term. The general consistent trend appears to be to shroud or veil a game in a similar atmosphere and hope the player doesn't notice. Well, the player does notice, and I think with the latest news of Destiny 3 being announced to be in the making and emergence of plausible competitors, we're starting to see that our wallets have an effect. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the oversaturation in the gaming world. What genres are you just sick of seeing and why? Share your thoughts below. If you want more analysis of your favorite characters or fictional worlds, go ahead and smash that like button, turn on that notification bell, and subscribe for more. The direction of progress is forward, and it's only up from here. I will leave a link to my socials in the description below, and with that, remember, if ever you're lost in the forestry of words, strip your mind from fantasy and look to the window of the world, and there your mind will run free.